Hey gang, welcome back to Jade's Garage. Today's video is technically part 66, but it's really a remake of 65. The reason for that is I had sprayed paint on the Cobra Jet, and I did sanding and buffing, and I ran into some problems with the whole process. Had problems with the clear, had problems with breaking through the clear, and just it was looking really bad. And you know me, I'm pretty picky. I don't like to have anything go wrong, and it just got worse and worse. So I'm redoing it. Now, one of the things that I'm doing differently is I'm going to put the deck lid on the car. I had some issues with how the paint looked and the clear coat on that piece in particular, and so I decided I'm going to put the deck lid on. But I also thought if I'm going to do that, I might as well put the seal in. So I'm going to start off this video by putting the seal on the deck lid or trunk lid so that when it's on the car, hopefully it doesn't have to come back off. It'll be a one and done. So I'm going to do that first. Then I'm going to go through the process of prepping the car. I'm going to put I'm going to sand it, of course, and I'm going to mask it, and I'm going to try to address the problem I had with the breakthrough on the sail panel. So stay tuned. There's a lot to do on this video, and hopefully I can get all of it done. Now, I will point out as well, if you're watching this video and you learn something from this video or you get some benefit from it, there is a link down below. I call it a tip jar. It is a link to PayPal. If you feel like you've gained something and you want to help out keeping these videos going, then you can put a tip in that jar. No obligation, I'm just offering that. I also will post links at the end of the video for Patreon and Amazon and products and stuff that I use, so if you follow those, that helps out as well. But let me get started by working on that seal, and then I'll mask the car and we'll see if I can make it look better. So it's a little crowded in here, but I want to show you this. I am going to put the seal on the trunk lid for the Cobra Jet because I'm going to mount this to the car when I do the repaint or the re-clear, as I've talked about. And I feel like if I have it done now, it can just stay on the car as long as everything goes well, and I don't have to worry about it again, because otherwise you're either trying to put the seal on while it's on the car, or you have to take it back off and go back and forth. I don't want to do that. So what I'm using is this seal, and this was bought through NPD. This is Daniel Carpenter, and you can see the part number there. And on the instructions it shows you this little cutout shape, right? And it says mount this edge to the trunk lid with weather stripping glue, which I'll do that. And then this opening goes toward the center of the trunk lid. Now, I've already got another one of these opened up. So, if you look at the seal and the shape of it, you can see that it's got a little bit shorter leg with a curve, and from what I am seeing on that, that's going to go against the surface and probably catch that little bit of a bevel that is right next to the flat part of the inner deck lid. So if I set this up here, it fits in that space pretty nice. I know it's hard to see that, but trust me. I'll try to zoom in when I can. But what you want to do is end up with the seal at the back of the where the latch goes. At least that's what I've read and what I've seen and what I've done. It makes it easier, I think, than coming up here on the front. So ideally, if you start this here and you can walk this all the way around, you can you'll end up with a little extra length, let's say. So I'm just gonna unfold this or unwrap it and try to get it as close as I can to where it needs to be. Bring that around, and you can see there's quite a bit here, because this will go all the way around, almost half as much again as what you really need. So if I were to set this there and then slowly place it, I can determine how much length I need. Now, you don't stretch this thing. You just want it to lay on the panel whenever you're installing it. And I have tape here because I want to tape it down so that it stays in place. And it should easily come around these corners. I say should. Sometimes I don't. And what I want to do is I'm going to cut this off and leave just a couple of inches right now. And just use a pair of scissors, cut that off. So there's an extra 3 feet. If anybody needs it, let me know. Now the other part is I'm using black super weather strip adhesive. This is 3M. I don't know the part number right now. I can't read it. But it's weather strip adhesive, and that's what this is made for. So if I were to start at this top and work a section at a time, I can tape that down and it'll stay in place. And I don't want to get in a hurry. I don't want to try to force any of this. I just want to make sure that it's staying where I want it. So this stuff is really, really sticky. And I have a paper towel here, but it's real stringy and sticky. So I'm going to get some tape ready so that I can just start sticking it down with the tape and not have to tear off pieces while I'm trying to install it. Hopefully I have enough here that this will stay in place. If you ever end up with trigger finger, try to avoid it. It's really not fun. So that I have I'm centered on that hole. So I'm going to work my way around. I'm going to reposition the camera. Maybe it'll help with seeing some of this. I'm dead serious about the trigger finger. I've cut it in both the middle fingers on both hands. And it's no fun. So we'll just continue to work our way on around. As you can hear a helicopter. Now I'm going to let this set up, and then I'll come back and put just a little inside of that gap just so the ends meet each other pretty well. But that's it. That's all you got to do. So I think it's cured up enough. Again, I'm just going to put some in this gap just to keep it together. Nothing fancy. So with that in place, all this other stuff, this tape just should just peel right off. So just be careful with it. You get the idea. As I was preparing to install the deck lid, I had put the little retainer nut clip carriers, I don't know, whatever they call them, I had put them in the arms for the deck lid. And I thought I put them in the right way. I know I did on the passenger side, and I was struggling with it on the driver's side, and I thought, what am I doing wrong here? So I took the lid back off and realized I had put that in backwards. So make a note of that when you're putting the deck lid panel on. You have to have those carriers in the right direction. So I did some test fitting here. I just tried to adjust it, as close as I could. I wanted to get a good gap around the perimeter, and I was also checking for the foam and how it would interact with the deck lid. Now, I just made some adjustments, got it as close as I needed it, and once I did this, I started looking at the foam, and I realized I didn't like it. I had put some tape down, and I think I was just anticipating any kind of overspray getting past the foam, but my experience should know that that's typically not the problem, or not the case. So I went back and redid the foam, replaced it back against the overlap for the seam, and was looking at it here, and I ended up adjusting it a couple more times. Here I had some fun with the camera. How about that? Two of me doing the work. So if only that were a possibility, right? So I'm masking off the back of the car. I think everything was good, and I had no intention of respraying that area. So just took some time and put some paper back there, and just made sure that it was covered up as good as it needed to be at this point. So put some tape on, and I latched the deck lid down. I ended up, adding more paper here and there, and just getting everything secure, as it is. So here I do another sequence where, hey, it's me helping me put the back window tape in. I don't know what happened with the camera there, or my editing. It looks kind of weird. Now, normally I would not have done this. I just kind of let it go. But I decided, hey, I don't need the overspray. I don't need it floating around all over the place. And I decided to just mask this off. So as you can tell, I've got pretty good experience with paper and figuring out how quickly I need, my length for the masking process. And I wanted to have the paper connected in the center. So I was trying to figure out a way to do this. And what I ended up doing was taking my little foam pad that I kneel on and put that on the inside and just push the tape against it. Pretty simple fix. Here at the wheelhouse, I back mask. I do this on the wheelhouses, and I also do it on the pinch weld on the bottom of the rocker and on the back panel where the drop-off panel meets the quarter panel. So this is just an easy way to just get the masking where you want it. If you try to put the paper in, you struggle with it, and it just makes it a lot easier to just put some tape in there and make the paper stick to that tape. So here I did the same thing with the door. I put the foam in and ran it close to the edge, and I ran it up the inside of the door opening as well. And you'll see here in just a second, once I get all this, I was okay with the flange here at the quarter panel. But after shutting the door and looking at it, I realized the foam wasn't doing exactly what I wanted. So take it open and start again. Reset the foam, make sure I got it where I wanted it, and the door closes nice. So I went on from there to masking the inside of the door, where the door handles and the lock go and stuff like that. And then I moved on to masking the front edge of the door. So I didn't want to use foam because you can't make foam just float in space. Tape is an easy alternative. You can put it up against the inside just like doing the wheelhouse opening. And once I get everything where I want it, I usually use loose bolts and just have the fender hang. But this time I decided I want this to sit close to where it needs to be. So I put the bolt in the bottom of the fender, and I also put a bolt at the top to secure it onto the apron. Here's where we're at. I have gone over the car, as I've mentioned previously. Everything is masked now. I have foam in the bottom of the door openings and also at the seam where it meets the quarter panel. Everything is wiped down, but I'm probably going to wipe it down at least one more time. I did get the trunk lid where I wanted it, and there's foam around it, and I masked off this whole section of the tail. I decided to put paper in the windows. I was thinking about overspray, and even though there's nothing really inside that could be messed up by that, I was just proactive and said, you know, I'll mask this off to protect it. I also masked off the openings for the vents and the door handle and that sort of thing. At the fenders, I put in tape to act as a deflector or, you know, stop. And of course I put some paper up in the windshield area as well. On the door openings, I didn't tape this on the outside, but I put tape on the inside. And I wanted to try to get material in there, and I think this will work fine the way it is. I'm not worried about the mirror opening at this point. It's not going to make much difference. I do have paper behind the fender, and of course did the whole rocker panel as well. So it'll take me a little while to wipe this down. I'll do it at least once more with Windex, and then I will wipe it down with wax and grease remover, and I'll wet the floor and get this in another round of base coat. Now mainly what I'm trying to deal with is that back section on the sail panel where I had broken through. But what I found was there was a couple spots in particular, I should have showed this earlier, there was a couple spots up here on the roof that, I don't know why, I don't know if you can see that or not, there's little white flecks, and it's primer, but it is not something I can sand out. Like, this is as smooth as you're going to get, and this was in the paint, I guess, and I can't go any further than that. It was that spot there, and there was a couple others. I think there was a couple like that on the door, and I think there was one somewhere on this side. I don't remember exactly where right now, but that's going to justify adding more base coat. You know, I want to make sure there's nothing that pops out that's going to look out of the ordinary. Let me think about it. What else did I see? I know I saw it, two little spots somewhere, and I'd have to find them again. I know. Oh, here's one on top of this door. Right there's a little spot, and there's one right there, and I don't know why. So anyway, I've got enough base coat that I can do at least one full round, and maybe even two if I have to, but I don't think I'll have to because obviously we already have material on here that's created the color. So let me get it cleaned up, and then we'll get the base coat on. Now I know you all have seen this before where I take tape and I mask off and create a funnel for the paint to flow without running it down the side of the can. Now I was just going to let this go as far as the video, but I thought I'd add a few comments here. This tape, I've left it in the can before and I've had problems with that, so it's probably best to take that tape off every time that you are redoing it. Just start with a fresh batch of tape because it will come loose and you end up with a problem. So I've mixed up everything here and I put the cap on. Of course, for the PPS cup. I ran into a problem with these lids. I had a few that didn't want to fit quite right, so I went over them a few times. And here I always run a little bit of lacquer thinner through my paint gun and then blow it out before I do any testing. So now that the gun is set up, I went ahead and put it on the PPS cup, or put the PPS cup on the gun, and I was like, oh, wait a minute, I forgot to put on this light that I got from Harbor Freight. So it's easy to put the light on first, and make sure you take that light off when you're cleaning the gun, otherwise you'll end up with lacquer thinner or cleaning solvent getting onto that light. Okay, I had a bit of a problem going on, and it wasn't hiding that area very well. And I put a few layers of base coat on there, and you could see it I could just tell that it wasn't doing what I wanted. So I ended up taking some 1000 grit, kind of softened it up, and then I sprayed a little bit of self-etch primer on there. And then I let that dry, and I took 1000 grit on a DA and just kind of went over this. And you can still see the little cracks. Well, I say cracks, but those are smooth now. And this was the original area that had the problem. So I've wiped this down again, and I'm going to try to fog this over with the base coat and see if it goes away. If not, then I'll have to do something else. But I've used self-etch before in situations similar to this, and it has solved that problem. We'll see what happens. I'm going to let this dry, probably try a couple more coats, see if I can get that to go away. It's close. Okay, we're going to find out. It's looking better. Yeah, it's looking better, I think. Huh. Oh, that's what I forgot to do. Y'all didn't tell me. One of my fans quit. So put in two. All right. Now, normally I don't feel like I have any problem shooting base onto a panel, and I know that there's a risk of mottling with metal flake. And I watched a few videos from some paint pros, and they pointed out once you start spraying, you get your main layer down, the trick is to pull off with this paint gun. Meaning, if you're traveling at 8 to 10 inches on your spray, then you pull off like 20 inches. And what that does, it allows the flake to kind of just float out there in a sense. And here I am walking the car, making sure that I get all the panels at the same time. It's a common technique. Just makes it good for whenever you want the metal flake to flow from panel to panel. So keep that in mind if you're trying to do one of these, and think about the modeling process where you raise the gun up to prevent that. Oh, I'm about ready to quit. So I have gone over the car again, and as I was working this, I ran into problems with that section on the sail panel. I'll show you that in just a second. Also, one of my fans just completely died, like wouldn't turn on, no other issues, just would not run. So I had to stop and go get another fan. I went ahead and replaced both of them just to be proactive. So as I said, everything has been sprayed over again. I had a couple little areas where I had broken through, and I had those little dots showing up on top of the door. I did have to do a few different things on the sail panel. I couldn't get the coverage was good right here, but there was some flaws going further back. So I ended up spraying primer on that to get rid of those, and I think it turned out really good at this point. Gone over the deck lid again, happy with that, and the other side of course, and there was a couple little spots up on the roof that I talked about previously. So things are looking good. I'm going to mix up some clear and see if I can't get it covered. I also have the rear valance panel ready to go. So we're going to see what happens. I'm not going to film this while I'm spraying clear simply because it gets cloudy in here and the camera doesn't film very well. So we're going to get a look at it after I spray, and hopefully this is the last time. So you're about to find out why I typically don't film when I spray clear coat. Now I did change and used a 1.3 tip, 30 psi at the gun, Deltron 2021 clear coat, and 885 reducer. I had used 870 reducer before, and with the 1.4 tip, and I think that was part of the problem. It just wasn't able to flow, and with that 1.4 tip, it didn't atomize as well. So my friend Joe had helped me out with this information, and also I watched a video by Paint Society. It's an older video, I think it's like 5 years old, and he talks about the atomization. So it kind of is a conflict in your mind when you're thinking about this huge fan of clear coat coming out, but the fact is with a smaller tip you're atomizing it and creating or allowing less fluid to actually get on the car. I guess that's how I have to look at it. So obviously it gets cloudy in there, and it doesn't look as bad when I'm in there. I know the camera is looking through layers of it. You know, you're looking through the whole cloud, where when I'm in there, I don't see it like that. It's a little clearer, obviously, to me when I'm doing it. But I ran out of clear coat in that can or that cup, so I move on and get another cup ready that I had ready to go. And I also found that this Tyvek suit that I was wearing, the little booties that were on it, they were collecting the clear coat that was getting on the floor. Even though I wet the floor down, it was sticking to those little booties, and it actually was causing problems because the suit was sticking to the air hose as well. I was having to kick it off my feet a few times during this process, and later on I just had to rip the suit apart to get it off of me. And I will say that I did sweat quite a bit. My shirt was soaked, my pants were wet, you know, but hey, that's part of the process. All right, it is Friday, and right now it's around 12:40 p.m. And I've been out here in the early morning taking care of this. Now yesterday I redid the base coat, and as you saw, I did talk about the problem I had back there on the sail panel, and I've addressed that. And I decided to wait until today to do the clear coat. So I've changed some things. I used a different reducer. I used a smaller tip in the gun. I used a 1.3. And I also turned up the air pressure to 30 psi. So this looks totally different. Previously I had a bunch of junk on top of both of these fenders, and right now there's very little as far as dust nibs or anything like that. This looks completely different as an end result. Now you know that it already had base coat, clear coat on it, and I had gone over this with the DA using 800 grit, and this is where I had that problem with the breakthrough, and so this is now completely taken care of. The only thing that I know is an issue that I'll have to deal with is I have some sag right here, and that is because I overreacted to the clear coat issue. I wanted to make sure there's plenty there, and so I ended up with this sag of material. But otherwise, I'm stepping in water, you're probably hearing this. Otherwise, there's very little trash. There's really, I was expecting maybe to have a run or two somewhere. I think there may be a couple tiny ones. Like there's a little tiny run right there. But there's relatively nothing showing up. I do know on the driver's fender, I was looking at it earlier, I did find one section right up on top here where it started to create a sag. But previously I had a run in this door. Not anymore. That's all gone. That's all addressed. There's a little tiny bit of evidence of that same flow problem right here on this radius. And nothing is showing up bad in the decklid at this point. Previously it had runs and stuff in it from when I sprayed it, but now this looks really, really good. This is going to sand out and buff so much better than it did the first time. But for right now, I'm just going to let it sit. You know, the clear coat, while not hard, is technically still in the soft phase. So I won't do anything with this till at least tomorrow. But I'm just very, very happy with how this turned out. So much different. Same way with the rear valance. I had issue with the color not looking the way I wanted it to, and now it's much, much better. So, yeehaw! I'm very happy with how this looks right now. Okay, very happy. There's still cleanup and stuff to do. Later on, I'll do another light sand because there's really not much trash or anything in this, and I think it's going to turn out amazing. That's the plan anyway. So once again, thank you for watching. Thank you for participating. I want you to leave a comment and a thumbs up if you can. And again, follow the links that I expressed expressed earlier. I want to thank my patrons especially. You know, they're fantastic. They help keep me going and making these videos, and I want to keep doing that. So if you're interested in helping out with that, there's also a link in the bottom there in the description box for Patreon as well. So anyway, that'll be it for this video. So until next time, take care of yourselves. See ya.